Welcome PSY 364 students. This is my week 4 commentary in our fall 2017 semester together. We are now finishing module 1, which is to say the first 4 weeks of the semester. And next week we'll begin module 2. This is a boundary because next week we'll begin looking at the minds of males, meaning the internal experiences of men and boys, and begin a series of chapters in Kilmartin and Smiley associated with that. So this is our final week to integrate and consolidate our thinking and understanding about how men's studies has dealt with the issue of masculinity and masculinities, plural. So using the language of the field, we're looking at intersections of masculinities and social class, masculinities and culture and so forth, masculinities and disabilities. So as these intersections come to our attention, we have to ask about the diversity of masculinities as well as the commonalities across this diversity. So it's not an easy topic, which is to say masculinities, to simply formulate as a category, because as soon as you have a category, of course, you have stereotypes. On the other hand, if you have no core elements, then you have essentially a label without meaning. So this dilemma, at least intellectual dilemma, about how we incorporate our thinking about masculinity into the study of the psychology of men and boys, is our focus for the week. So it's a heavy reading week in that there are 3 chapters in Kilmartin and Smiley. As well, I need to bring your attention to the fact that the monthly essay test will be submitted within the next week. So you should begin developing those essays now and asking or calling or consulting if you want help with those, because those will be essentially submitted as we finish the month. Okay. Beyond that, I think we're in pretty good shape. There are still 13 students in the course. 2 of you have not yet contributed to the discussion and the discussion board, and I'd be delighted if more of you opted to post your own questions, and I'm also quite pleased at the quality of the postings that I'm reading as we're moving forward in the course. So a final note, there is one supplemental reading of Bloch-Breyer's article on the existential crisis of himself as a male in the 21st century. And this is, I put that in our agenda simply because it's a good transition from the objectification of masculinity to some of the subjective and more empathic experiences of men and boys. And those of you who want to increase your empathy or the accuracy of your empathy with respect to the experience of men and boys, I think this change of direction will be in the direction that you were hoping we would go. So that article is a good transition, and as well, I do want you to go to the Good Man Project. This is a very well-established website, and there's a book behind it by the author of the website called Reworking Masculinity and, oh shoot, I can't quite remember that title. Here it is. This is Mark Green's Remaking Manhood, Stories from the Front Lines. And he's also the executive editor of the Good Men Project. So take a look at this, and what I think is particularly important about this project is that it looks at the issues of 21st century manhood and masculinity as something other than a problem. Both personally and I think as a social scientist, I'm somewhat concerned that frequently there's a tendency to frame the study of psychology of men and boys as the study of problems. So this is a good resource that exemplifies how we can move forward in our consideration of not what is a great man. I do see some of you interested in that on the discussion board. I'm personally very interested not in great men but in ordinary men, and how being themselves essentially can be a positive experience without having to, as it were, leap to celebrityhood associated with greatness. So that's perhaps where I digress a bit from the mainstream, but I think we're all headed in the direction, which is to say, how do we find common ground with affirmative formulations or articulations of manhood and masculinity in the 21st century. All right, I won't go on too long. I apologize if this has been a little choppy. I wanted to get that reference correct for you. But I think, again, we're on a good track. And please do call me if I can help as you're developing your course project. Oh, and a final point. I will post, after making this video, I'll post a thread in Dr. K's office so we can begin posting our plans for workshop number 2, which will be just about the midpoint of the course. We're already at week 4, so the midpoint of the course. And we'll see who is interested in meeting in real time on campus or on the phone bridge at the midpoint for taking stock, problem solving, and assistance with course projects. So I look forward to hearing from you when I can be of assistance. Thanks for your interest in the course.